It's certainly very mind-expanding to sort of think about the future. But for a moment, I'd actually like to take us back to the past, if you'll forgive me. In fact, I'd like to take us back to the beginning of the Internet of Things. It was early on the morning of the 5th of September 1987 when Tony Riley took a phone call on his car phone. It was barely 2 years then since the first mobile phone call had been made on Vodafone's UK network. Mobile phones, the size of briefcases, the weight of a gold bar, and just about as expensive, were selling like hotcakes to the likes of Tony and his colleagues in the business world. One of those early enthusiastic corporate purchasers, and on the other end of the call that day, was British Gas. Newly privatised, it saw a huge opportunity to improve efficiency by connecting not just its managers, but, unusually for the time, mobilising its whole workforce. That day, they had a new and difficult request for Tony, who was the Vodafone product manager assigned to look after British Gas. British Gas wanted to move beyond just talking to its field engineers. Could Tony help them to control and manage their whole network remotely? Thus, almost 30 years ago to this day, and just 170 miles north of where I now stand, the idea of M2M, or machine-to-machine connectivity, was born. Today, M2M has been rechristened IoT, or Internet of Things, proving, if nothing else, that 17 years after the dot-com bust, putting the word Internet into the description of a simple concept is the verbal equivalent of Go Faster Stripes on a 1980s Vauxhall Nova. But that's enough clues to help you with my age. What I hope to achieve today is to persuade you that the Internet of Things is not just a huge opportunity per se, but it represents a terrific chance for Guernsey to grow. Indeed, it is an area in which Guernsey can make real financial returns. I hope that by the end of this talk, you will understand that IoT represents a big and growing global market, one in which several Guernsey businesses are already making a real mark. I don't know why that happened, as if by magic. Oh, it's gone. Furthermore, you will see that some of the key topics that we'll be discussing later in the day, specifically big data analytics and data security, are, I believe, the keys to us unlocking that IoT prize. But first, what exactly is the Internet of Things? It's often referred to as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The Internet of Things is the concept of connecting every kind of thing you can imagine to the Internet. The thing might be a shipping container, or a fridge, or a heart monitor. The possibilities are endless. These are things that are connected by a wide variety of communications technologies. In the industry, we use the term connection agnostic to describe this. The connectivity medium might be something you've heard of, like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or cellular, but it might also be something new, like LoRa or Sigfox or NB-IoT. These fancy new terms are just various technical standards for new wireless data networks optimized for carrying small amounts of IoT data traffic at low power over a large coverage area. All the things tend to send small amounts of data back to a central point, hopefully securely, where it can be analyzed, a big data application, and acted upon, usually automatically, by another machine, increasingly using artificial intelligence algorithms, the sort of thing that Mark's just been talking about. For example, smart electricity meters that report household energy consumption so energy grids can be made more efficient. Many people don't realise that the UK government is currently spending about £8 billion rolling out smart energy meters to the entire UK population, about, I think, 27 million meters by the time it's finished in 2025. In-home devices that control lighting, heating and security, connected cars for predictive maintenance and to reduce insurance costs, fetal heart rate monitors sewn into baby grows that alert parents or doctors to irregular heart rhythms. Those, by the way, already exist and are helping to reduce cot deaths even as we speak. Or what about precision agricultural sensors that tell farmers about humidity, soil quality, and crop yields? The list is very long, but several common themes are beginning to emerge. And I think there are sort of three types of applications coming out here. There are applications that improve the quality of life, applications that make businesses more efficient, and applications that make life more convenient for us all. The key overall, though, here is that the Internet of Things reduces cost and friction everywhere. At JT, and specifically some of my colleagues here in Guernsey, we've had some success in enabling our customers to exploit the opportunities that IoT brings by using it in our own network. In fact, today, over 1.4 million things in over 100 countries around the globe are connected by using our cellular network. And it's a cellular network made resilient by the major switch installed here in our Tier 3 ISO 27000 certified data center just up the road in First Tower Lane. So these devices, 1.4 million of them, connect around the world and connect here through Guernsey, as well as, I have to say, Jersey. Let me give you a couple of examples in an area that we all believe is a good match for Guernsey's skills, fintech. My first example, and one of my favourites, is in Nigeria. JT has about 10,000 SIMs in Nigeria, connecting point-of-sale devices for the United Bank of Africa. Point-of-sale devices using JT SIMs can connect to any available network in Nigeria. And that's in point, because Nigerian mobile networks, by and large, run their base stations on diesel generators. And occasionally, the chap who's responsible for filling up the diesel tanks forgets to do so, or maybe there's a diesel shortage. And when that happens, a cellular network can stop working. With JT's multi-network connectivity, the point-of-sale devices just hop onto the next available network, and the shop owners can continue to do business. Another good example is connected cars. We're not into self-driving vehicles yet, but we do support the industry. In the USA, JT connectivity allows about 300,000 people who otherwise couldn't get credit to own a car. Our partner, iMetric, administers a platform that allows remote tracking, starter interruption, and other features in vehicles leased by people with poor or no credit. Auto dealers can safely lease to these people because they always know where their asset is, and they can have some control over whether it can be used or not. I think quite important here, because there's a sort of migration happening in the industry even as we speak, is that this started with a very simple approach. Basically, pay on time or your car won't start. But now, big data analytics has been applied to this industry. So now, if you're a credit customer and you stop driving to the same place you've been going to from Monday to Friday for the last 3 years, you might get a call from your credit company asking if you're still employed. And of course, it's big data analytics that is analysing the data, understanding the patterns, and then reporting that back to the credit company so they can decide what action to take. Now, all of us in this room are lucky enough to be well enough off not to have to worry about our credit ratings. I think that's probably true looking around the room. In the USA, however, public transport is usually of such poor quality that literally, if you cannot afford to run a car, you can't work. So, in terms of the trade-off between privacy and access to assets and capital, this is an IoT solution that allows data to flow without friction and for people's lives to be improved as a result. So there's a couple of good examples. Now, JT's been in the IoT business for 5 years, so these are businesses that we've grown up over the last 5 years. But why did we get into the business in the first place? Why does JT, a CI-based business with nearly 50 employees here in Guernsey and over £50 million invested in this bailiwick, have a seat at the global table of the Internet of Things? It might seem counterintuitive that JT delivers business-critical services from New York to Lagos. I think there's 3 reasons we've been successful, and I think they provide pointers for everyone in this room as you think about the opportunity the Internet of Things could provide to your business. Firstly, we've got a world-class network. Now, unfortunately, it's not possible to buy a mobile phone system for communities of 170,000 people. Indeed, the one that we bought the smallest in the world, and it's good for about 2.5 million subscribers. Actually, it's a very good example of exponential growth in terms of capability. So we've got a great deal of spare capacity in many ways. We've got spare capacity as JT in skills. We've got spare capacity in terms of global interconnectivity, in equipment and in licenses. And we saw an opportunity to exploit this. In many ways, JT is a unique network operator. We own all our own equipment. We don't outsource anything. We control our own destiny, and we constantly invest in training our staff, the vast majority of whom are local, both here on Guernsey and in Jersey. And that's the key learning for me here. Channel Islanders are resourceful and innovative. If something goes wrong and a spare part won't arrive for a few days because of the fog or storm, and which of us in this room hasn't experienced that, you need to improvise with what you've got. Most physically connected societies have lost that ability to improvise. All of this means that we as JT can deliver premium services around the world based on our mobile network and without investing a great deal more to achieve it. Secondly, we are entrepreneurial and inquisitive. We are constantly trying new ideas. Some will fail fast and fail cheap, and we learn from those experiments. Other ideas grow, and we can act quickly to supply our successes with resources. There's a concept we've stolen from Silicon Valley, and we're great plagiarists, I have to say, at JT, and it's called minimum viable product. It's like when you paint your living room and you test the paint in a small patch behind the couch to make sure that the colour, you like the colour before you commit yourself to painting the whole room. In our case, it means when we get an idea, we bounce it around a small group of people at JT and build a service prototype with minimal investment to test in the market with beta-friendly customers. If they like it, great. We invest a bit more, we improve, and we learn. If they don't like it, we've not lost a lot of money or time, and the results of our effort invariably informs us as we build our next project and in turn makes it better. This works for us, and in IoT we've many examples of this process. And I suspect when we hear Colin in a few minutes' time, we'll probably hear, and I see the Guernsey government in particular, starting to do this sort of test and either grow or fail fast and cheaply model. And I think it's something, frankly, that we should all be supporting. Thirdly, we've been successful because whilst we are small, we are agile. We can adapt quickly, and we have a solid regulatory framework, capital base, and corporate stability. Larger operators simply can't move as quickly as we can. If you like, they're all tankers to our speedboats. I suggested there were 3 reasons that JT has succeeded in this marketplace, but I'd like to offer you a 4th bonus reason. One which speaks directly to the heart of why Guernsey is such a great place to build a digital business. Data is frictionless. What do I mean by that? I mean that in a hyper-connected world, data will flow to the places that offer the best home for reasons of technology, cost, expertise, regulation, and control. That's a key reason why customers buy from JT, and these reasons are underpinned by the island jurisdictions in which we operate. In JT's case, IoT data flows through us because we connect things to every corner of the world through our 600 roaming partners, because we're a stable and trusted connecting party, because the management tools we offer our partners are top-notch, because we've designed our network with some special tweaks that make it optimal for IoT data, and finally because our marginal cost of delivering these services is very low. That's because we've built our network to serve this great community, but IoT allows us to exploit our great network and gain some real economies of scale, which in turn, of course, means that we can reduce our costs for our customers here on Guernsey. There are many parallels, I believe, here with the Guernsey economy. The extremely high level of boutique expertise in finance and law is a tremendous asset. The closeness of industry and government is a great asset. Our jurisdictional quality is an asset. And finally, the way we can adapt our regulations to address emerging niches quickly is a final and almost unbeatable advantage. Other jurisdictions are more like the proverbial oil tanker. So enough about the past. Finally, 15 minutes in, I get to talk about the future and hopefully catch up with Mark. What does the future hold for the world of IoT? Well, we can't rest on our laurels. Connectivity, which is where we really started 5 years ago, is bread and butter in IoT. And as I stated at the beginning of this talk, the future is in big data analytics and security solutions. JT has several proofs of concept in development now. They are targeted to provide data store functionality, pattern analytics, and to use blockchain for protecting data integrity and using encryption technology to protect data and applications at rest and in transit. The one that I'm most excited about is a project we're working on with a partner in Estonia. Now, I know that everyone in this room knows Estonia and probably looks to them as perhaps one of the most digitally advanced countries in the world, certainly in terms of government function. Estonians vote online, they get prescriptions filled in without paper, they register businesses and file taxes virtually instantly. And they do that all securely. And they do that all securely despite the fact that the Russians on their border keep trying to break their economy through cyber attack. So how on earth do they achieve that? Well, for the last decade, Estonia has used blockchain technologies to ensure that if they get hacked, they always know which data has been compromised, and most importantly, they always know that the data they are restoring is 100% the same data that they originally put in. They do this with digital signatures and mathematics, as I say, otherwise known as blockchain. We are working to use this technology from our Estonian partner to secure our Internet of Things network and its devices and to protect our customers from attack. The real effect of what I'm describing is immeasurable in our world of GDPR and constant cyber threat. A very current example, of course, that we've all read about in the headlines is Equifax. They currently state they've lost the personal data of 145.5 million people. That's 2,300 times our population here on Guernsey. Social security numbers, bank details, addresses, everything an enterprising and entrepreneurial young criminal mind needs to practice identity theft. It's all been stolen and can cause extortion and general mayhem. And by the way, this isn't just affecting Americans. People in this room might be victims too. In a bizarrely unfortunate coincidence, the American IRS has just granted Equifax a multi-million-dollar no-bid contract for fraud protection and prevention. Strange but true. With solutions like the one we're working on for our IoT network, if Equifax had been using a JT IoT solution, they could have known when the hack was happening in close to real time. They would have known precisely what data was compromised, and they could have acted to protect their customers, reducing their liability and protecting their brand. Personally, I think Guernsey is uniquely positioned to develop and offer personal digital identity protection services. There's a lot of discussion and effort being put into protecting companies from GDPR liability, but I hear much less about protecting consumers from the breach in the first place. The technology exists, the legislation can be designed to support the industry, and because data is frictionless, that word again, there's no reason it can't reside and be protected here. We've just got to give it a good home. I'd like to close by taking you back to Tony Riley and British Gas. In the end, Tony and his team at Vodafone built a remote management solution for their customer. How did they do this in a world before data connections over mobile? Well, they borrowed from a successful and growing fixed-line data device of the 1980s. Ladies and gentlemen, the world's first Internet of Things solution really was machine-to-machine. And the machines it was based on? Well, They were fax machines. Thank you very much.